Hi, and welcome to Last Week from the Table for Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond. Now, let's get on with a look back at the two actual play games that I run each week on my Twitch channel. On Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I run the Essentials game. It's the Dragon of Ice Spire Peak, and that you can find that at twitch.tv/Gallibond. And this past week, we were at the Woodland Manse, and which is one of the uh, locations in the game. And they were exploring the house after they had fought most all of the cultists last week. So the main thing they were doing this week is going through and exploring and dealing with some of the traps and dealing with some of the uh, leftover things that were in the house. They did have a little bit of a fight with some creatures that are part of the house as well. But the main thing that happened is that our wizard nearly killed himself by falling into the spikes and the trapped stairs. They Most of the party was injured after the fight, and they did not take a short rest to heal up hit points before they started exploring the rest of the house. Instead, they went around, and when the wizard fell uh, on the trapped stairs, he landed on 6 of the spikes, and each of those spikes does 1d6 damage. Now, fortunately, he made his save, so he only took half damage. Unfortunately, each of those things does 1d6 damage, so he would have been close to being killed outright uh, if he hadn't made a save. As it was, he was able to pry himself off with like 1 or 2 hit points left, and then had to go sit in a corner and nurse his wounds for the rest of the session. Uh, but they so the party was getting there, and then they decided at the end of that they were going to get ready to head back off to town. But they literally spent the entire session going through the house. They found some magic items. They went and they found some books. They explored all of the different areas of the house and everything. And they now are needing to head back to Phandalin. They actually have a choice whether they want to go to the Falcon Hunting Lodge or whether they want to split off and uh, go back to Phandalin. And I'm not quite sure what they're going to decide to do. But Xanth, the centaur, is still with them, and he's probably getting more and more anxious about getting back to town, uh, even though he was the one that suggested they come and check out the Woodland Manse, since he was looking for some of his kinfolk that had been driven away from the Circle of Thunder. But that is the Dragon of Ice Spire Peak on Thursday nights. You can drop by this week to see what will happen. Like I said, they are getting closer and closer to finally meeting that dragon and fighting him once and for all, and figuring out where the dragon is holed up. And we will just have to see. All right. Then on Sunday afternoons at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, it is the Walker of Waterdeep. And last week you may remember that the party went to Innistrad, and they did have a fight with some plant monsters right off the bat there. Well, it just so happens, if you're somebody that follows both of the games, this week you'll see a very rare occurrence where it's exactly the same map for both games. Because when I was prepping a few weeks ago for the Dragon of Ice Spire Peak, I looked at this Woodland Manse and how it's kind of a rundown house that once was a very glorious and beautiful place. And I thought, That makes a perfect house to be on the outskirts of Avabrook, in the plain of Innistrad, which Avabrook was overrun by werewolves a number of years ago and is now a ghost town. So that I thought made a very compelling map and layout for the quote unquote safe house that they would be teleporting to from Ravnica. And so both sessions basically spent the entire session on almost the entire session on that same map. Uh, they finished up the fight last week with the plant monsters, and they were kind of recovering from that as we started a session this week. And then they noticed, oh, there's a sound of footsteps inside the house. And they realized that the house was occupied. It was occupied by some strange, goth looking humans, maybe humans. The party had their hackles up a little bit, very suspicious of them. And the humans saw they were injured, and oh, they really wanted to help. Uh, they really wanted to help bandage those wounds. And one of them came over to bandage a wound and just couldn't help herself, dipping her fingers in the blood and then bringing it up and tasting the blood off of her tongue. And that's when they realized that all these people that are in the house are Ravnican vampires. Okay, now vampires or I'm not Ravnican, but Innistrad vampires. Now, vampires in Innistrad, according to the lore of Magic the Gathering, they're not your typical undead vampires. They are, in fact, they have this curse of vampirism that is based on a deal that the first vampire, an Edwin Markov, made with a demon. So there's a demonic ritual that's involved with actually angel blood that created the first vampires, and now their progeny, their line, are vampires as well. And the there's this whole backstory about why they were made, and that really doesn't play into our game. But suffice to say, they're not your normal vampires, but they do require blood to survive. But vampires come in a wide variety. There are some of them that, of course, they see a human walking around and go, oh, fresh meat. And then there are others like this group that are kind of like, oh, well, you know, can we may just take a little. I mean, we're really not gonna kill you or hurt you or give you a disease or anything like that, but we just need a little bit of blood. And in fact, they actually have arrangements with some hunters, and in return for um, making sure that there's good hunting grounds around this house that they have, the hunters will actually allow them to take a little bit of the blood, both from the animals that they kill and from the hunters themselves. And so they make out fine. But there's a problem in the former Avabrook that's even worse than the vampires, and that is a demonic cult. And so the vampires were trying to recruit the party to go after this demonic cult, but the party wasn't buying any of it. They were really anxious about getting out of Avabrook in one piece. And so the um, Justiciar, Xandri, our beloved Xandri, she decided that it would be a good idea to go to the window and summon her steed. So she gets the summon steed thing just like paladins do. And in her case, it's this beautiful, I believe you call it roan. It's like a it's well, roan may be a darker. a darker brownish red, but it's like a golden brown, golden tan horse. I'm not sure what that color is on a horse. I'm not a horse person. But anyway, this is gorgeous war horse that gets summoned right outside, right in the pumpkin patch. Oh, there's these big bright pumpkins. And so the horse goes to take a nibble at a pumpkin. Only it's not a pumpkin. The pumpkin is an egg sac for brain weevils. Brain weevils are these, they're kind of like ticks, but they're about the size of a human hand. And they will actually stick their proboscis down into your ear canal and try to eat your brain from the inside. And these, of course, are creatures out of the Magic the Gathering card set. And so they started attacking the horse. All right, well, then the party had to get out there and start fighting these brain weevils. And it wasn't long before the vampires ran out and started helping them attack the brain weevils as well. Because these brain weevils, they're small, but they're tough little buggers. They have a huge bucket of hit points. They only get one attack, and it doesn't do a whole lot of physical damage in comparison to other monsters that they have fought. But the kicker is that the brain weevils will, in addition to doing physical damage, they will deal 1d2 intelligence damage to a creature if it has a successful hit. So there were about 3 or 4 members of the party that actually lost intelligence in the fight. Uh, so they were they were very very traumatized as that fight went on. It's like, ah! Well, hey, I want to make it fun for them, and if there is no mortal danger to their characters, then a fight isn't very fun. Even when all you're fighting is a bunch of bugs. So they learned stay away from the pumpkins. Um, and the vampires told them, "Oh yeah, some of those pumpkins are actually pumpkins, but some of them are the egg sacs uh, uh, of the brain weevils." And they didn't stick around long enough to figure out which is which. They have a magic item now called Darren's Instant Fortress. So as soon as they got done fighting the insects, they all went back into the interior courtyard of the house. They set up the Darren's Instant Fortress, and the party retired to that, uh, took an overnight rest, planned their strategy, and they decided that they are going to go to the mine that they need to go to in Kessig to get the materials that they require. And they and So they had a travel montage. Now, I did not, they were so badly beat up in those 2 fights they had when they first got to when they first got to Innistrad, that I decided, okay, I'm not going to throw any more monsters at them right away. I'm going to at least let them get to uh, the village that they're going to, and I forget which one it is. It's the one that's described as an idyllic village. Um, Landholst or Lamb. I want to say Lamb Chop, but that's not right. Um, anyway, they're going there, and so they crested the village to see, or they crested the hill to see the village below, and they walked into town, and that was where we left the session. So we will pick back up next week with them getting an inn and then going about trying to find guides and trying to find people that can help them with the mining and other stuff that they need while they are here. So that was the Walker of Waterdeep game. You can find us every Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, over at twitch.tv/Gallibond. And that's going to wrap it up for last week from the table for tonight. I hope that you guys enjoy this segment. If you do, please click the subscribe button down below. Ring the bell. That will let you know every time that we post a new video on the channel. And if there are some things that you would like us to cover, please go ahead and let me know. I'll be glad to see if I can work it into one of my normal daily things, or if it's an idea I really like, then I can do a special video and drop that for you guys here on the channel. All right, everyone take care. Have a great week. I hope everybody is staying safe, and we will talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.